Hi Vidya, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I'm here for an interesting chat today. Are you ready for 15 questions with Steely?
Yeah, of course. Where do we start?
So Vidya, I want to start by asking what inspired you to establish Edelgate Foundation?
It's actually a bit of a long story, but one of serendipity, I would think. I had never really been exposed to the development sector. I've always been in the private sector and mostly in financial services. But when I came on board at Edelweiss to be its CFO in the year 2000, one of our guiding principles was to start giving the moment we made sustainable profit. And that responsibility kind of came to me. And along with a couple of mentors to whom I really owe a lot in terms of my immersion in this sector, I could travel the country and I could visit a lot of nonprofits and see the work that they were doing and really understand and witness firsthand the challenges that nonprofits face. And as Edelweiss was getting to an IPO in 2007, I decided to step down and, wanted to remain connected to Edelweiss. And, I was just extremely fortunate in being given the opportunity to set up the foundation at that time.
Wow, that's a truly inspirational story. Can you tell us about a time or an incident when you had to challenge gender stereotypes or biases in your professional environment, and how did you address them?
The experiences I had was how women had to stand up to be counted, especially in large meetings or meetings which were mostly composed of men. And I remember that we had to dress differently to show and exude, that power and that authority and perhaps that you were more senior of the male colleague that you went with. And I think a lot of this has begun to change because the awareness is there. So today when I catch myself sometimes, getting into a gender stereotype, whether male or female, it's good to talk about it and communicate with the team so that the awareness is gradually built.
What's your mantra to approach decision-making in high-pressure situations as a leader?
I think for me, it's the biggest thing that leaders bring is actually calmness and the ability to rally a team, allow team members to really speak their mind in terms of what they think, and then sort of take your time, but then understand that sometimes you'll have to pick the least worst option.
Next, how important is it for those in leadership positions to continue learning and developing newer skills?
I think it's not just for leaders. I think it's for anybody today. I think this, what we call learnability, the ability to adapt to situations as they emerge is more important, than anything else. I think one of the things I have at least experienced in the last almost 4 decades is the rapid change in the work environment and the need to continuously adapt, and that comes only with learnability.
If given a chance, who are the 3 famous women you would choose to have a meal with and why?
That's a really tough question. I mean, if you look at the current generation, I would think, for me, Elena Ferrante, who's this Italian, very elusive, mysterious author of very feminist books, is somebody I would, love to have a meal with. And of course, somebody like Meryl Streep, who's just amazing. But I think I would just like to go back to, the freedom struggle and the 3 women who, if they were here today, I would definitely want to meet. And they're Sarojini Naidu, and they're Aruna Asaf Ali, and they're Kasturba Gandhi. I just think that for the women of that generation, pre-independence, to have emerged the way they did, and to play such an important and significant role in the entire movement and not be acknowledged in the same way as some of the other stalwarts. They actually held their ground.
How we hear a lot about allyship in the workplace. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it too. How can men actively contribute to fostering women's leadership development?
I think allies and champions are necessary wherever you are. It's not just in the space of leadership, because I don't think, people emerge as leaders and managers on their own. There's a whole ecosystem. A woman who's running a household is also a leader in her own right. I think as women are really emerging and becoming more prominent in the workforce in particular, or even in the leadership, political leadership, in any sphere of leadership, political, social, economic, male allyship also is very important because it has the power to convert other people around them to provide the support system to let leaders emerge. So I do think that allyship of all kind is important, but particularly male allyship is also important. In my own life, I think it's three men. It's my father, my husband, and my son who've been my biggest cheerleaders, and that's very important.
So Vidya, what advice would you give to someone aspiring to grow in leadership roles in the philanthropic sector?
The need for leaders is always felt because there is a certain courage of conviction. There is compassion and kindness, which I think are essential qualities to leadership. Most of our models of leadership have tended to be male, white, Western. Most of the leadership books have been written by men. But there are so many aspects of leadership we are today uncovering, which are less about the analytical ability, less about the critical thinking, but more about the ability to hold two teams together. And there is a softness and a quietness to leadership, which is now emerging as an equally important trait.
Please share a lesson you've learned from a philanthropic project that didn't go as planned.
I think, we discuss the word failure in our sector a lot, and I don't really like that word too very much, because it doesn't really enable you to focus on what we learned, from what went wrong. For me, I think that's really important. If a project has not gone as per plan, I think my approach is to say, okay, what did we learn? We've had a few such experiences where the project really didn't take off or did not deliver as per result. The good thing in the non-profit world is, as long as the non-profit is also viewed through the lens of being a partner on the ground and really understands the levers for success of a project, it's possible in a partnership-oriented way to really sit together and talk about it.
Drawing from all the rich experience that you have now, what is the one piece of advice that you give to your younger self?
One of the things I keep thinking about it, and I personally do believe that people don't really change materially unless there's an event that makes people change, in a material way. But I think for myself, I would tell my younger self not to take myself so seriously. I think when I was younger, everything mattered. Every comment, every opinion seemed to matter, and it sometimes ends up making you less effective. So I would think not taking myself seriously is possibly the one lesson. Too seriously, that is.
So Vidya, next I'm curious to know, how do you stay updated on industry trends, and what resources do you recommend for aspiring leaders?
I read a lot. I devour a lot of books across the spectrum, and articles. And besides just reading, it's also very important to go to the field regularly in my business, as it were, to really talk to people on the ground, talk to the leaders of the NGOs that we work with. I think that for me is really important.
Great. Picking up on our earlier conversation, what do you think are important characteristics that every leader should possess?
Yeah, I think we spoke about this a little bit earlier. For me, I think, most leadership tends to show, at least the books tell you, that there is, besides, of course, the intellectual ability, there is this aggression, there is this power that most leaders kind of exude. But I personally believe that there is a softness and a quietness to leadership that is not celebrated as much. And I do believe that a lot of the leaders who truly emerged and did very path-breaking, groundbreaking work through the centuries, whether it was Gandhi or whether it was Mandela or whether it was Martin Luther King, it was not necessarily aggression. There was a lot of compassion and a lot of kindness and incredible amount of courage.
I couldn't agree more on that. I'm sure you've left many people inspired already, but what legacy do you hope to leave through your work as a leader at Edelgive Foundation?
I think legacy is a very lofty word for me. I think leaders should really focus on the people they developed. So I think two things is the team you built and the people you developed, the successor you identified, and the empowerment and the enablement that you allowed that successor. Because organizations will grow and thrive only when with its people and its culture. And so for me, it is, will the Edelgive team really saw value in my being, and whether the leaders that Edelgive then created, not only for itself but also for the sector, what was their touch and impact and reach.
You were talking about reading. So what was the last book that you read?
I'm in the midst of reading extremely eclectic books, but the one I picked recently is called The Sufi's Nightingale, written by an amazing author called Sarpreet Singh, and he really writes the story of Bilal Shah Hussain, the amazing Sufi poet, mystic.
I think it's time to update all of our to-be-read lists. But speaking of books again, if you were to author a book about being a leader, what would it be called?
Oh, I don't think I would want to write about leadership. My interests are too broad for that. But I did write a foreword for a book recently, a group of 24 women. It's a very interesting story of 24 women. We led by an amazing woman called Julia Middleton. We were 24 from all over the world. We went on an expedition called Women Emerging. We called it Women Emerging to find that approach to leadership that resonates with women. So that book just came out, and it's called If That's Leading, I'm In.
That's very interesting. I think we'll get our hands on that soon. Lastly, 3 words to describe the 3 leads of the next generation.
I would say determined, perseverant, and courageous.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Vidya. It was an honor speaking to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on this.